Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be doing a little walkthrough guide for Mythic Sandy. I have had a lot of requests for this character. I get them on my live streams, I get them on my Discord. Basically it's a character that a lot of people want to, have my ideas on how I build her when it comes to her combat mods, what weapons I use on her. And I'm going to give my opinions on the skill upgrades you want to go for on this character with the military supplies, as well as basically, how I approach a fight with Sandy and the kind of characters I try and target and take out in terms of like what kind of power she's going to bring to the table. However, before I move on to the combat guide for Mythic Sandy, I want to bring your attention to today's video sponsor, which is Huawei App Gallery. The Huawei App Gallery is a mobile app store for Android users where you can play your favorite games and make great savings through Huawei points earned with every purchase. 20% of all purchases will be turned into Huawei points, so if you spend 100, you'll get 20 points, and these points can be spent in-game just like real money. Your first purchase also gives you a 40% back bonus. All details on how to download and configure App Gallery are available on my Discord in the announcements section. This promotion lasts for the rest of July, but App Gallery does promotions regularly, so make sure to check back often to see future promotions. Big thank you to Huawei App Gallery for sponsoring this video. If you have any questions, please ask on my Discord. Now back to Sandy. So we'll take a look at the skills first, and with the character itself, I would say basically everything in her kit is amplified by her stats. This is a character you definitely want to put all of your big, rarer items into when it comes to bronze medals, when it comes to the steel medals. You want to get this character up as high as possible. My one is completely maxed out at 640. I do also have a maxed out lieutenant system, so my Sandy is as high as she can go right now. Limit breaking this character is definitely recommended if you can get her in your supply depot. If you want to spend your coins at all and you do really like Sandy, that's quite a good way to try and get another Sandy. When it comes to the actual limit break that she got, I thought it was one of the best ones when it comes to the boost. As you can see, she got an extra 30% damage boost on her signature move, and I'd say that's where like heavy amounts of her power is her signature move. Her rush is really good, but every damage dealer's rush is really good. Andrea's rush is really good, Michonne's rush is really good, Tyrese's rush is really good, but her signature move is almost like a rush in itself. It's extremely powerful, and I think this is what sets Sandy apart from the other damage dealers and why I like using her the most. When it comes to her actual mythic abilities, these are her passives. I would say it's worth maxing out every single one, but you want to prioritize the ones that give damage amplification first. So I would go with critical superiority. As you can see, at the 20% critical damage multiplier. This means every time she does crit, she's going to hit harder. And then you want to max both of the agilities. It gives her an extra 10% damage, and it stacks together. So it'll be 20% damage for every basic attack. Her signature moves are multiple basic attacks, so it'll do the same with that. And also her rush is multiple basic attacks, so it just amplifies everything in her kit. Then you want to obviously do aim, just so she does crit more often. And I do like to personally build my Sandy pure crit based because she's a single target nuke. Lastly, the dodge. I didn't like it when I first reviewed the character, but it is worth maxing. 40% chance is still pretty decent. If you come up against a Mercer or if you come up against a Morgan, it actually does block bide. Basically anything where the character will do damage based on your damage, whether it triggers their specialist skill or triggers a passive or triggers a weapon, she has a chance to absolute defend it. So it's actually pretty legit. So all of these are worth maxing. I would just prioritize the agilities and critical superiority just to get that damage amplified as quickly as possible. So now I'll move on to the combat mods, and I would say there are only two real options for Sandy as a damage dealer, and that is attack set or crit set. Now they both will amplify different parts of her kit, and either are actually pretty reasonable to use, but personally I like crit set. Now I'll tell you what attack set will do. It will increase her actual flat damage, so it will increase the basic attack she does, it will increase her signature move, it will increase her rush, but it will also increase the collateral hits because it's based off of her actual attack stat multiplier, not like anything else. It's not based on how much she hits for. So like if you crit someone for tens of thousands, it isn't based off of that damage. The same can be said if you use a splash damage weapon. It amplifies both of those, but personally I don't think those really go high enough, and the amount of attack boost you get from mods is extremely low, because it's added to the base stat. So right now her max stat is 24,619 attack. if I add an attack mod on there, let's just add an attack mod, you can see that she's only going to go up to 28,000. Now, it doesn't multiply of her weapon, it doesn't multiply of her any leader skills, it doesn't multiply of anything. The only bonus she's going to get out of this, I think, is she could probably get a boost if you've got like a buff. So if a character like Alice gives an attack buff, or if you've got a strong attacks weapon, that's where this stat would be multiplied up. But it doesn't multiply in any other way, and it's really low amount of damage. It's only giving her 4k extra damage. When you consider a weapon that gives 50% extra, leader skills give 30% extra. Now this is where I think crit multipliers come in and are really powerful, because a crit multiplier means that when she hits for 10,000, the crit part of that hit will be multiplied by your crit multiplier, so you get an extra 50%, and you get an extra potentially like 2.5k damage on that. So that's where like much more higher damage is going to come out from her hits, but it isn't going to work towards her collateral hits, and it isn't going to work towards her splash damage. So we're going to sit with the crit set, and I have got an attack on crit. I have got a very good one, so I can get a massive boost. As you can see, it goes up to over 30k base stat. However, like I said, that isn't amazing, but it is like the best you can do. I would still say it's worth doing a attack set in the top left hand corner for now. When it comes to the top right hand corner, this is going to be based on your team. There are going to be some things that are kind of based on how you approach the team. She does really good damage against strong characters. You do not really need to amplify that. If you've got, let's say, Andrea on your attack team, Andrea is going to nuke alert characters. So the two traits you're going to miss out on are fast and tough. So when it comes to the top right hand corner, I could go with my fast one here and do an extra 40%, not great. Or if, like in my case, I have Michonne as the second character, and Michonne does damage against fast, so I don't need to do that. I need to do an extra damage against alert and tough. So I've got a really good alert mod here. So that's how I approach a fight. It's up to you if you want to approach it differently. And I do actually kind of mainly use Sandy as anti-governor, which we'll get into a bit later. But this basically means she can one-shot him with one of her hits on her signature move. It becomes extremely powerful. Bottom right-hand corner is, I would say, kind of going to be like the meta mod. I think a default one you can fall back on is going to be stun resist, so I'll just put that there for the moment. However, if like bleed is a massive issue at any time, or like a couple of heavy taunt characters come out, you need to switch this up based on what you see as being like the meta resist. This is how resist always work. But she will be stunned if she does attack someone with her signature move or rush on a multi-hit and they have stun on defense. This is generally a good fallback, like a good base, but you want to switch this out if you're having problems with bleed characters or bleed teams, or if you're having problems with anything in particular, you know, in the future when it comes to Sandy. Bottom left-hand corner is pretty easy. Just another crit multiplier, just adds to the extra damage that you're going to get on top when she gets the crits. You want to get this, you know, as high as percentage as possible. I'd say on some of these it is going to be worth going off trait to get a better one, but you do generally want to have 3 or 4, at least 3 of crit set to actually get the boost. But I would say, unless you're getting a massive difference, it is generally not worth it. So if you're, let's say you're getting an extra 10% versus alert characters on a offset mod, then it's fine. But if you're only getting like 1 or 2%, it's actually probably worse. So now the last mod is pretty much on you, and the things when you're facing issues. If you're facing issues against, you know, bleed teams, HP mod could actually make a difference, because you're going to take, you know, more hits. It's going to take more damage to actually take you down, you know, that sort of thing. Or you could do another attack versus to amplify damage against multiple traits. Personally, I like to just have a bit of better chance to actually hit crits. So I do put a crit chance mod on her in this slot. Now it's 50 crit. It's just going to mean that because I built her like heavy crit based, and I want to hit those crits more often, even if this only gives her like an extra 1 out of every 20 attacks more crit chance, because, you know, when crit chance depreciates the chance to crit, like the first 10 is more powerful than the next 10, and so on and so forth. So it isn't going to be as amazing when she's got lots of 50 and 35s around her, but it still means she is going to crit more often. That means you're going to get the best out of the way I'm building her right now, which means your crits are going to hit, and they're going to hit harder. So that is how I would mod her. Like I said though, bottom right hand corner, switch that up based on the meta resist at the time. Now when it comes to Sandy's weapon, there are quite a lot of variations I've seen, and they're all pretty decent, and we'll go through the different variations. When it comes to her base weapon, however, I would pretty much ignore it and just 5-star it. It isn't really that great. You can definitely create an easy weapon for her. You don't have to go for anything too spectacular either to get a nice base weapon, and you're not going to get on this weapon here. Now, I wouldn't even upgrade it just for the visuals, because the weapon gets rustier as you upgrade it, and right now it looks kind of like clean. It goes like rusty on the top silver bit, as you can see on the art on the left hand side, which doesn't look great in my opinion. So there are like 3 or 4 variations of the weapons, and they kind of use the same sort of things, but then there is some off things as well. So for instance, splash damage in the 3rd slot is something that a lot of people like to use, but some people like to use splash damage and 1535, and this is obviously a nice powerful weapon, and it would look something along the lines of this. I do not have one myself. This is from someone in my faction called Johnny Potsmoke, so thank you very much for putting this up on a friendly team just so I could see it. You can get attack, huge bonus to AP when attacking. This is kind of what you would want. You'd obviously not want to have any failed attack upgrades, which unfortunately this has had. Splash damage and then 1535. This is just going to amplify your damage, give you more chance to actually hit the crits because of the 35 crit bonus you're getting. And if you had 2 characters next to Sandy, the leader and another character having one of these weapons as well, it would amplify her attack more and give her more chance to crit. Just off of the 1535 weapons alone, she can have over 100 crit rating. If you add the base of her aim from her skills, that's another 40, and if you have like a reasonably good mod, like 55 to 60 mod, you're going to be able to have 200 crit chance, which is going to give you just a much better chance of critting. In the S-Class era, I had quite similar with Priya, and I used to hit Rampage all the time. It's going to be very similar to her Colette and any bonuses that she would get from crits, and just honestly, higher damage. Now, a weapon I use on her is going to be the Governor's Pistol from one of the battle passes. It was quite an easy upgrade. You just upgraded the attack 5% 3 times, and the rest was already good. A huge bonus to AP when attacking. Confuse is nice little bonus, but the slow works really well, and I have seen people who use splash damage and slow. This is where like you can just get different variations of the weapon. I think the Kenny pistol, I remember Cygnus telling me that he got splash damage on the Kenny pistol, which I think had slow on it from the start as well. And we have had new weapons come into other parts of the game. For instance, in the Invasion event, there is the Governor pistol, another Governor pistol, which has slow in the 4th slot already, and there could be potential for that 3rd slot to actually work pretty well on Sandy as well. So there are definitely some variations of weapons. You can also go with the percentage attack weapons based on the enemy character's HP. Now, I don't have any alert weapons like this, but this was basically what it would look like. In the 3rd slot, you get bonus attack when attacking enemies that have more than 50% HP. This just obviously gives her huge amounts of attack on a boost. This is much higher than what she would get from a combat mod, and obviously this is where the crit set comes in. Like changing to crit set, getting attack mainly from weapon and other sources means that those crits are going to hit harder, and that's where she's going to just do much higher damage. Now, I'll just come back to the Governor Pistol again, and I'll just talk about the slow. The main reason I use this weapon is for the slow, honestly, because there is quite a lack of control on attack teams, and the slow counters Governor. It's like a heavy, hard counter to Mythic Governor. It means that he will not rush if you take him out with this weapon and you hit a crit. You have to hit a crit on the killing blow, effectively. You can't hit a crit first and then the second hit takes him out, because the second hit would give him the AP. It has to be the takedown hit, has to be the one that it gives him the slow. And then obviously he wouldn't have max AP because his rush would now cost more, and he would have his previous max, which is 66. And his rush would now cost probably like 88 AP. So I'll just show you some combat of my Sandy now, and I would definitely use an attack leader with Sandy just to amplify her attack more, and I put a 1535 weapon in that character's hands as well. Now you can see how attack stat has been boosted up to nearly 61,000. I can put another character next to her as well, and this time I'm going to go with Michonne, and her attack is going to get boosted up to nearly 70k. Obviously, she'd have more if she had a 1535 weapon in her hands as well, but I'm sacrificing a little bit of damage for control. I am using quite a lot of strong characters, as you can see right here, and I'm going to use a strong attacks weapon, which is going to give a percentage damage buff at the beginning of every wave. And because I'm going to be using 4 strong characters, that's going to be a 40% attack buff. And this is where the likes of Sandy just start popping off with the amount of damage they can do. So this is the weapon I'm talking about. Strong attacks at the start of each of this character's turns. All other teammates get 10% attack for 1 turn for each strong teammate on the team. Now, there are going to be 4 strong characters, and I'm going to just put in his hands. As you can see, I've got 4 strong characters, and we have got Wayland as well. Wayland's really good, particularly as a combo with Sandy. The synergy between these 2 characters is great. Wayland can disarm a character first turn, and then second turn he can use his signature move to disarm another character, and then if he hits the crit on that signature move, he will also disarm a character from the actual attack itself, not just from the character on the side. So he could have 3 characters disarmed on turn 2, which is going to be really important against absolute defense, stun on defense. It doesn't matter too much against impair on defense, because if she does get impaired, it's not great, but she can at least get the rest of her signature move off. It's mainly against the ones that block damage. That's going to be the big problem with Sandy. Okay, so we'll just hit up a raid, and I'll basically show you my idea of how I approach raids with Sandy with a slow weapon. I use the confused weapon slow, like the governor's pistol from the battle pass. And I do not attack any governors on defense teams directly. I try and do splash damage against him. It's not going to do too much. It was like 5k, but it is actually going to be something. And we're just going to try and get some stuns elsewhere. Now it is going to be a bit hard because he's probably going to have quite a lot of HP. So we will try and stack up the attack on him on the next turn. We did actually get lucky with the secondary disarm going on to him. See, we know that he's not going to rush, so it's not going to be too much of a problem. We're just going to get the damage in elsewhere for the moment. And we should be able to potentially take down Tyrese here. But I'm going to have to risk the signature move of Sandy, and it might not one-shot Governor. It most likely won't. So we might slow him before we take him down. We'll see what happens. He is actually going to get confused, but we did slow him. But the confuse is going to come in. I did the double confuse, which is nice. And then from here, it's going to be pretty much easy street, fortunately. I can just do the one attack of Sandy's rush. A lot of the time, it doesn't get that far because her signature move is just so powerful. Fortunately, other people and myself on Sandy did control that governor, so it isn't too much of a problem. So again, just generally how I do it, attack one character next to the character that I want to actually do the splash with, and then I just hit auto from there. And then basically on the next turn, it should be enough with Sandy's damage output to take out most of the team with her signature move. Nice and quick. Now obviously if you're coming up against very tanky teams or teams that you have to beat extremely quickly like this one here, because of the Zachary on the defense team, you have to change up the way you're going to do things. For instance, it's actually worthwhile me attacking the governor on turn 1 this time around, just to try and do as much damage as possible. We did manage to slow him, so I did one-shot him. This means he's going to be taken out on turn 1, which is actually quite vital, honestly. And we should be able to still win and not have anyone taken out. The bleed will come in. Actually, maybe Negan's going to get taken out. Oh no, I might be able to still do this. It depends if there was a pain split or not. Is there an absolute defense on Shiva? There is. That's gonna be the only issue is this absolute defense procs. Let's see if we can get a stun here. Okay, so now we use her signature move. We should be able to do quite a lot of damage, and it's just going to be clean up. So we do manage to survive just about. So obviously the tankier teams get, the harder things get as well. You won't be able to manual things as easily, but Sandy is obviously a really powerful character against tanks. She does so much damage. The issue you're going to face is tanks can get crit resistance, and that's going to counter this build of Sandy. But her flat damage is still pretty high, even if she doesn't crit. It's just her crit is just even higher. You just got to be very careful on the characters you want to focus and be aware that you could potentially not crit. Even Governor himself, if Governor has that 40% crit resistance, you could not crit to make that weapon go off and actually, you know, make it so that he is slowed. That is always an issue you may face. But that is my ideas, my sort of entry guide for Sandy. Hopefully this has been decent for you as a referral, because like I said, I do get asked quite a lot of questions about this character, so I thought it was worth making a video just to refer people to, and so they can check out how I kind of approach my build with Sandy and why, and also how I raid with her. She does a lot of damage. I do enjoy Sandy. I'm really happy that she was a good character in the Mythic era. Do give me your thoughts on Sandy as a character. Is she someone who you like, who you haven't got, or have you been using her for a while? Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. That is going to be the end of this video. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.